at 63 years. Today is his birthday.
Okay. Well, let me join all the well wishes to wish our governor happy birthday and wish him well. I think his life, he has impacted the society, and he is not a failure. One will always wish that children will be greater than their parents. I know that from whichever family he comes from, they will be proud of him. He has not been a failure. He is among the stars in his prayers. So we wish him well, and they even wish him greater heights in future. As he is a governor of Anambra State now, he will go greater heights. And even with this, he will also establish his name in gold. His name will be written in gold after he might have completed his listing in Anambra. So that will also enhance his future. So I think we are blessed to have him as a governor, and we will expect to whom much is given, much is expected. We cannot be our governor, and we will know his stuff. I hope Anambra will be better than places states who are not opportune to have technocrats and despots as their governors. So I wish him well.
Okay, Ejike, let's also look at Mrs. Soludo launching 2023 Anambra Women's Summit in Oka. We know that very soon we'll start hearing about August meeting in different communities and churches. So this is like opening of the main meetings in other communities. So what's your opinion about this gathering?
I think it's a way for them to prepare their minds as to what to discuss during their August meeting. It's a good one, having interaction with the women in the state. Of course, there are several jobs or several tasks that needs to be done, especially as it concerns the family and the roles mothers play both in the family and in society. So I hope whatever that their takeaway from that summit will be brought down to the families, so that we'll be able to raise children who will not be a nuisance to the society, children who parents will be proud of. So the summit is a good one, and I hope those who are there, who are attending, will focus on reasons why they are there, and I hope it won't be an opportunity for women, mothers to go and show off their wares or talk about trending wigs and all whatnot.
Okay, all right, thank you so much for that. So quickly, let's start with the papers that we have for today.
And the first paper we have for review this morning is the Daily Sun, and the banner headline there is saying ministerial nominees Fagbemi, Umahi, Wike, Edu, El-Rufai, 23 others face Senate Monday. And the writers there says more nominees for Lagos, Kano, and 7 other states. Subsidy, FG wants NLC over planned strike, declares action content of court. Obi denies photo shoot with pro-Biafra agitator Simon Ekpa. Court strikes out fresh application by DSS to further detain Emefiele. You can find that story on page 4 of the Daily Sun. Customs intercept 27 billion naira worth of tramadol live turtles orders at Lagos Airport. Police raid General Danger camp in Rivers, kill 1, recover weapons. NGE Institute annual memorial lecture in honor of Jakonde. And the writer there says holds maiden edition in Lagos. Doctors who left Nigeria still on payroll. That's coming from Akubweze. And FG unveils new public service rules. That's the much we have on the front page of the Daily Sun. Quickly, Simon, what do you have about the nominees that we see on the front page of the Daily Sun? Is there any person in your own estimation that is missing, or you believe some people don't even have any business being there? What's your take on that?
Well, if you ask me whether I believe that some people, I can tell you that I believe, personally, in my own opinion, I believe so many names I see there ought not to be there. Ought not to be there. That is my own mind. For instance, because it's not their name. Somebody like El Rufai, somebody who has a divisive tendency, somebody who is not speaking as a patriotic Nigerian, somebody who is not living, showing leadership quality. Why should he be there? Somebody who is a religious bigot, and yet he was accusing somebody some time ago as a religious bigot. Somebody who can come out to make statements that will cause chaos and confusion in the nation. It's not supposed to be there. Somebody like Wike, and I congratulate them. But the point is, as I said the other time, having spent all this time, when Tinubu came in, he said he will follow the footsteps of his predecessor. And the people were interpreting it. Most of us did not attach much attention to it. But the issue is he's leaving to the West. Now, Buhari wasted over 6 months to appoint ministers. One was thinking that he will appoint people from the moon, or angels will come down to people who have impeccable character, men of, tested their ability and proven integrity. But unfortunately, we found out to be the old brigade, the same people in the mask, the same masquerade. Now, the same thing, Tinubu came in. Is it Wike and the El Rufai that he has been communicating that we wasted more than 2 months waiting for? Why didn't you pick them immediately? 2 weeks, 1 month is enough. Why must we? Okay, look at what the confusion in the nation now. Courts or others are not obeyed. Who is the Attorney General to be held responsible? Who can advise the government for all this time? Labor at war. Resident doctors at war. Who is the Minister for Labor? Who will interface with the labor leaders? Who is the Minister for Health? Who will look into the problem of resident doctors? Then we are managing governments and government like this. So that is the point. I am not satisfied with the names I see there. That's how to put it in a simple way. I'm not satisfied. I thought he will look for, because Nigeria, somebody said that Nigeria is a sick nation. We cannot afford to employ sick president or sick people. Nigeria is a very fragile state. So we ought to look for people who will have something there, to technocrats, to fix this nation back. Not people, not lifetime politicians who are going for stomach infrastructure. Like Wike jumping from here to there. Is it not David Omai and so on and so forth?
All right, let's quickly go to the next paper. That's the National Star newspaper this morning, with the big story in front of the National Star. Ministerial list, Tinubu dashes Kwankwaso, Lalong, Al-Makaro, Keyamu's hopes. El Rufai, Wike, Umahi, Alake make list. No nominees yet from 8 states, including FCT. Senate cancels recess, insists on no take a bow at screening. And then we have the fuel subsidy removal. Civil servants devise cost-cutting strategies. That's on page 2 of the National Star. As federal government reduces work days to 3 per week, workers demand 100,000 naira minimum wage. FIFA Women's World Cup, Nigeria beats Australia with 3-2 win. Abia governor orders reopening of Ariare market. 100,000 companies may lose a CAC registration for not publishing returns, coming from the registrar. Federal government unveils new public service rules. Okay. Gunmen abduct 3 female bankers in Enugu. Court strikes out discreet DSS suit to keep Emefiele in detention. Okay, we have a lot of stories trending on the front page of the National News Star newspaper this morning. Do we start with the new rules, civil service rules, and then looking at also that ways to devise the civil servant devise and cutting costs since the removal of fuel subsidy. Going to work now 3 days in a week.
We wouldn't know what the new rules say until we get to see them and of course criticize. But as regards workers, I don't know how many countries go to work on 3 days in a week. Even here in Nigeria, 5 working days is not even enough for you to conclude a transaction in a government office. And now you are reducing it to 3 days. That is frustrating people who have business to do in any government agency. That is simply what it is. Ordinarily, even when you go to some MDAs, they even tell you we don't have electricity. Some will even demand money for fuel from you to power their generator for them to render service to you. Now we've reduced working days to 3 days. Imagine what that would mean for people who have business to transact. So is this, with such news going out, how do you expect investors to come into Nigeria and invest? These things, they don't work. We have I don't know why making Nigeria work seems like a task that we need them angels to come and do for us. These things are not too difficult to do. Our problem is fuel. We have the crude oil here, so why not make the refineries work so that fuel will be available and people will be able to run their business? Why not even make electricity available to Nigerians so that people will make their business work? Of course, given the amount workers are paid, in their own right-thinking senses, I mean and the federal government, they feel that the right thing to do is to reduce number of working days so that people will be able to manage the meager salaries that they are paid. If not, you end up spending everything on transportation, because high cost of transportation, high cost of food stuff in the market, inflation everywhere. And in their own right-thinking senses, the only thing that they could think of or come up with is to reduce the number of working. It won't change anything as far as I'm concerned.
Let's also see whether they are planning, because the workers are demanding 100,000 naira minimum wage. Let's see also if they are planning to do that.
In today's Nigeria, even the 100,000 might not even be enough. It's not even enough in today's Nigeria. Because there are things you need to put. It's not about increasing salaries. It's about cutting down on some other things. It's not about increasing how much. The more you increase salary, you increase inflation, and at the end of the day, people will still give out that same money. So why not reduce the cost of and things in the market? Why not put some other things in place so that even if you are earning 50,000, that 50,000 naira to an extent will be sufficient for you?
Okay, let's also see this the victory of FIFA Women's World Cup. Nigeria beating Australia 3-2 yesterday.
Yes, that's the cheering news. As if to say that you know that I'm interested in it. If not for any other thing, let us have something that will gladden the heart of Nigeria, because the tension in the land is too much. So at least that will help to reduce our blood pressure. I'm very happy with the ladies. The first outing, the goalkeeper showed herself a star. She did the work of a lion. Then in this one again, some of these girls came out to show people, the host nation, before the capacity crowd. Because when you are playing in such a place, you are playing more than 11 players.
Yes.
You are playing more than 11 players. Even the cheering from the crowd will even intimidate you if you don't know what you are doing. But they came out victorious. It's It's hearing news. And coupled with that, Nigerians are not giving enough to their star, to the football stars like other nations. We know what transpired between them and them before they went for this thing. That is enough to discourage this girl. That is why some of our people are not happy to identify with Nigeria. That's why you have stars from Nigerians playing other places. These people are trying to kill this nation. In short, these are the people we should celebrate as patriotic Nigerians, not all these people who play.
Well, what can we say? Kudos to Team Nigeria for making us proud out there. Yeah, we are proud of you. Also, quickly, let's see the next paper.
Yeah, the next paper for review this morning is the Daily Times. Senate cancels recess, screens Tinubu's ministerial nominees from Monday. And we can see the House of Reps now has 134 standing committees. And then ministerial list, presidency hit on plans to restructure ministries. Wow. Quickly, let's see if we can take another. Sani dismisses Tinubu's cabinet list, warns of serpents, vultures as Nigerians react. Wow, that's stuff coming from the former senator. And then we have the Punch. Let's take the Punch and then see if we can match the stories there together and see if we can discuss. The banner headline on the Punch newspaper, El-Rufai and Wike other nominees face Senate screening on Monday. President will create new ministries from full cabinet in 2 weeks. That's coming from Wajamia Miller. That's the writer. The National Assembly awaits other state nominees. PDP faults Wike's nomination. Lampoons Tinubu over list. Reduce government borrowing from CBN. That's World Bank telling Nigeria. You can find that story on page 17. Robberies. Lagos CP launches Operation Flush after Punch report. UN halts humanitarian operations in US, France condemn Niger coup. And then we have Margaret Benson Idahosa, matriarch of Nigerian Pentecostalism. And then NMA demands MOU as FG OK's 25,000 naira doctors allowance. And then the last but not the least, we have the subsidy removal. Tinubu begs Nigerians to persevere more. What do you have to say on these two papers that we... quickly, there's this one that captures my fancy here, and I want us to see if we can talk about it. As in, presidency hint on plans to restructure ministries. Is this going to be downsizing or more ministries to be created? What's your take on that, Simon?
Well, whatever is we wait for it to unfold. But one thing is, just like when my co-discussant was speaking, what I was saying in my mind is this shows that, let me not say that they are confused. How can you think of reducing the working days to 3 in Nigeria here? So whether they are creating, because it is when you have people who know the road. They used to say, follow the people who know the road. I could not hold myself laughing when somebody, thank God I'm not the one who said it, that the list is made up of snakes and vultures. Serpents and I think vultures, I had you. Serpents and vultures. That was and that is true. That, if you look at it, we have vultures there. And the snake will start swallowing money again now. And so on and so. So it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate that we are, let me not say that we are, they are pushing us from frying pan to fire. People are angry. People are in anguish, suffering. You instead having expectation that things will be better. Then you are trying to, you are looking like, leading them like a confused man. No direction. So why can you think in other clients, in overseas, people are employed working for 5 days. Then they will go and they're working with hours. Some can work 7 days and still have another to showcase their strength in order to earn more. Now we are limiting, just as my colleague analyzed. So it shows, if you look at what is happening, I was looking at where the government was warning an NLC to beware of content of court. You can imagine kettle calling pot black. Government that is not obeying court order. Yet they are fighting, they are going to court to retain a mefele. Contrary to all court, I was happy yesterday when the court said it is abuse of court process. Are they not ashamed? What type of nation is this? There have been, how many times the court has given order, release this man. You have him in the court. You can still bring him back or bring any other child. This man, they can the same thing. Well, that is why I said, if you have an attorney general, at least, and you have a working NMBA, they will speak through the attorney general. Why is the government not obeying the court? And then when they want to make use of the court, they rush and obtain ex parte injunction to stop NLC from backing up, which we know that demonstration is a civil right. So it's unfortunate where we have found ourselves.
Well, still on the punch out, we can see the president on subsidy removal telling Nigerians to persevere more. What's your take on that?
For how long are we persevering? We are Nigerians, and we always find a way to adjust to such difficulties. No wonder at a time we are ranked the happiest people in the world, not because we have everything rosy in Nigeria, but because despite the hardship that we face, we still find a way around it. And now Mr. President is telling us to persevere more. When you keep people on the road for about 30 to 45 minutes because you are going to work from your residence to Aso Rock, you cause a log jam and people stay on hold for 30 minutes.
Hundreds of cars will come.
Going in the morning and coming back in the evening. This is what they experience in Abuja. You are telling us to persevere more. How many vehicles do you have in your convoy? And how much does it cost to fuel them? And you're telling us to persevere more. Nigerians spend 600 naira, 700 to buy a liter of fuel. Even without electricity, some persons cannot even power their generator again. And you're telling us to persevere more. Cost of living is on the high side. You're telling us to persevere more. You've appointed people who bluntly told Nigerians and insulted the Igbo, telling them never in their life to interfere in elections in Nigeria. You appointed such persons as ministerial nominees, and you're telling us to persevere more. You see, we Nigerian leaders over the years, especially presidents, those who aspire to be, are never ready for this task, never ready. Because if you are ready, if you are serious with what you are coming to do, why won't you have your ministerial list before the election? Why won't you have people you know you want to work with before the election? Why must it take you months after the election before you come up with your ministerial list? Are you waiting for people to be given birth to, people you want to use before you name them? We are Nigerians, we know ourselves, so why not pick people you want to work with? What is the like of Wike? Who will Wike listen to if he's made a minister? Who will El-Rufai listen to if he's made a minister? Even Dele Alake, who would they listen to if they are made ministers? So it's not about telling us to persevere. You lead from the front, for God's sake. If you show us that you are empathizing with us, don't tell us to persevere more. Just like the Senate president was making mockery of Nigerians when he was passing a motion on allowing Nigerians breathe. Who does that for crying out loud? In public glare, on national TV. And you are making fun of it, and for God's sake, these people, they don't care about what Nigerians are going through. What they are after is, like Mr. Simon said, stomach infrastructure. What they will benefit them and their families for years to come. So telling us to persevere more, it's not show us that you really want us, persevere with us.
All right, quickly, just to let you know that you can be part of the discussion ongoing in the studio this morning. Just dial the number displayed in front of your television set. The newspapers we are going to review this morning are Daily Independent and This Day newspaper. Let's start with a Daily Independent. The big story there, Tinubu's ministerial list, the Senate's vow nominee screening won't be business as usual, and we can see the names of people that made the list. Down there, lawyers, child DSS over bid to get a fresh detention order for Emefiele. And then Abbas unveils chairman deputies of 134 House standing committees. Ministerial list presidency hints on restructuring of MDAs. Ozodima asks security agencies to save Southeast from sit-at-home. NGE institutes annual memorial lecture on honor of Jakande holds Medin edition in Lagos. Stakeholders suggest solutions to ease hardship, trailing subsidy removal. 6 aircraft startup for Nigeria Airlines is anti-business. AON. Trapped Max Air aircraft leaves Niger amid coup d'etat. And then next is the This Day newspaper. The big story is still talking about the nominees. So let's see what we have up there. Court throws out DSS application for extension of Emefiele's incarceration by another 14 days. Nigeria demands release of Bazoum, return to status quo. And then, these are what we have on the front pages of Daily Independent and This Day newspaper this morning. So quickly, Simon.
Yes, as I have commented on the bid of the DSS to incarcerate this, I think that is an insult to the sensibility of the judiciary. How can you, court has given orders several times, release this man. They are carrying out illegality with impunity in this nation. You refuse, and then you came to the same court. You came to another to seek for permission to retain him when you have not obeyed the first one. I remember, was it last year, towards the end of it, when during the ASO strike and the distance, the court ordered us to go and obey God first before they come. But in this one now, nobody will be bold. Even I am not happy with our judiciary. I'm sincerely speaking. I belong to the district, but I know the time of judges like Oputa and so on and so. They will be bold to speak to the military government. Do you remember Ojukwu versus Lagos State government? It was during the military era. The Supreme Court frowned and they told the government that you cannot abuse this thing unnecessarily. You cannot trample on human reason. That the matter is in the court. Why should you go further to act on it? But now we have judges who are, let me not say anything, but it's not giving us a good distance. The people are losing confidence in the court. The court should make statements that will show the government that you are not obeying the law. Ours is a constitutional democracy. The rule of law must be supreme, and the rule of law entails that the law rules over everybody and every institution. That's the point.
Okay. HK.
I'd like to talk about maiden lecture in honor of Jakande. Jakande was first president of the Nigerian Guild of Editors. He was one of the outstanding journalists who later became governor. And his legacies, in fact, if we talk about those who built Lagos, Jakande was the person who built Lagos. I can proudly say that. And most of the public schools in Lagos were built by him. Most of the estates, low-cost housing estates in Lagos were built in his time. And in fact, he was one governor in his time who touched the life of Lagosians. And for the NGE to come up with this idea of honoring him and with a lecture, it's a good one. I hope the lecture will be one that will talk about the roles of journalists and what they are expected to do in a situation like this, where we find ourselves in a government that does not care about governance and what the masses are going through. Talk about the legacies of Jakande and how we should be able to apply them in our everyday life, because Jakande lived a life that is truly worthy of emulation, but unfortunately nobody is talking about the kind of life he lived. I even understood he never had a house to himself, but he have estates that were built in his name, but he never had a private residence like what we have with some governors or ex-governors today. So Jakande was an outstanding journalist, he was an outstanding governor, and he did well as the pioneer president of the Nigerian Guild of Editors. So he's truly a man worth emulating.
All right, thank you for that.
Let's go to the next for review, and that's the Nation newspaper. And the banner headline still talking about the presidency and then the nominees. Presidency, why Tinubu picked Wike El-Rufai, others. And then we have court reject DSS motion to further detain Emefiele. 1,200 Nigerian youths perished in Mediterranean, says NIS. Shell strike plan, police caution labor. House of Reps get 134 standing committees, and that's the rider there. And Uzodinma to security, save Southeast from sit at home. And then we can see the Senator Bokachoa sues DSS, ICPC over harassment. NG honors Jakande, and U.S. pledges support to Bazoum after coup. Just a little insight on the pages, on the pictures of the nominees for ministerial appointments. I can see lots of women in this. I think 6 of them I can see. So I think Tinubu is doing something to the gender balancing stuff for Nigerians. Most women won't be clamoring for that exclusion this time around. And this is not all. We're still expecting 8 more nominations, you understand? So would I say that kudos on the, trying to balance the equation with the female folk, unlike what happened in the last administration?
Yeah, that's on a good note. That is impressive. My only concern is because we have, how do you put it, they say in every 12 you must have children. So even in the women folk, we still have good eggs and bad eggs. So the only thing is, when you go, if you are picking from the women, if you are picking from the female and the male, make sure you pick the right people. Fix square pegs in square holes. And even when the positions are being assigned, make sure it is people who know what. We are still remembering Dora Akunyere till today. People who wrote their names. Obi Ezekwesili, Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala. These are women. Women of tested ability and proven integrity. The same we have in, we are still, our governor, we still remember when he was the central bank governor. We saw the impact to show that put people who know the road. People say follow somebody who knows the road. That is the point. It's not picking women. We have vultures in women. We have sapiens in women. And so.
Okay, let's quickly see the story. Talking about 1,200 Nigerian youths perishing in Mediterranean.
As it stands now, there are several Nigerians who would rather die outside than die in Nigeria, because it's a case of there's a fire burning here, but beyond the fire, there's El Dorado, and people are willing to go through that fire. And it's glaring that out of 10 persons who go through, only 3 survive. But you still have thousands behind who still want to go through the fire. That is the case we have in Nigeria. Because people keep dying. You don't want to hear the story of what they go through in Libya, because you must go through Libya. First, you are whether you like it or not, you must be adopted, you must be kidnapped, you must go through hell. You call your parents or your people back in Nigeria to send money to buy your freedom. before you can continue your journey. But still, people still want to go through that. What compares to the problem we have in Nigeria, for God's sake? What compares? There's insecurity, there's hunger in the land. You don't have your freedom. You don't even have a good night rest. So people would rather go through that suffering for probably 1 year and then get to Europe, where whichever way they believe that they would survive. And of course, whoever survives in Nigeria can survive anywhere else. That is what pushes Nigerians to go out to leave the country by any means. That's why people would want to go by road or by sea, despite what they are. If you look at documentaries on people who try to leave Nigeria by road, most of the dead bodies you see on the desert, some of them or most of them are even Nigerians. You see dead bodies. Even on the sea. You see corpses float, but people still want to go. That is how bad it is in Nigeria. And those who were elected, those who forced themselves into power, they do not care, because they don't feel the brunt of what Nigerians feel. And these are youths who, if they finally succeed and get to Europe, with very little effort of what they do, they excel. But we could be back here in Nigeria, what we have are dream killers. So everybody strive, even those who are even living by air, despite the increase in cost of visa, air ticket, and people still want to go. They rather sell most of their properties in Nigeria and leave.
The Japa syndrome.
So it's a problem.
All right, just quickly, the last paper we have is The Guardian. Overpriced airfares, 795 naira per dollar exchange rate for close holiday trips for average Nigerians. That's the big story, and you can find that on pages 4 and 5 of The Guardian newspaper. DSS silent over alleged arrest of former aviation minister Sirika. Strike notice, NLC in contempt of court, federal government declares. Police re-strategize as IPOB declares 2-week sit at home in Southeast. All right, quickly, Simon.
Yes, let me touch on the federal government, as I said before, wants Lady Labour. I am yet to be convinced the law that prohibits peaceful demonstration. I am yet to be convinced. I don't know where they base their listing. And as I said before, and we used to say, you cannot put something on nothing and expect it. Which court are they using, Fred? Which court are they referring to? Is it the same court that they are disobeyed, that they have constantly disobeyed? You know, I used to say it loud and clear that when we were growing up in nursery, the best way to teach is do as I do. So when you are leading people, the best way to lead them, do as I do. If you are saying obey court order, you obey court order. If you are doing this, if you are telling people to tighten their belt, one analyst was saying the other day, then you don't lose your belt. You wouldn't be losing your belt and ask me to tighten it. And the more so, when you are telling somebody to tighten your belt, it depends on where the belt is. If the belt is at the neck, you tell him to, it means to kill himself.
But the belt is not supposed to be at the neck.
In Nigeria, anything goes.
Depends where the belt was.
All right, Shajano, we want to say a very big thank you to both of you for joining us on this show this morning. Thank you so much, Simon Nwafezo Former, for being part of the show.
Thank you, our viewers and all Nigerians. I ask all to continue to keep hope. Let us not lose hope. Our lives are not in the hand of men.
All right. And to you, Ejike Awata, thank you so much for being here this morning.
Thank you, and I wish you all a happy weekend.
All right. Well, that's it on Press Review. Thank you so much for being part of it. My name is Chidima Oranwa. See you at the other side.
And I'm Ajulu Chukwuka. We're saying thanks for being with us. See you later.